Welcome back. What's up, dude? Welcome back to the channel. So it's another one of those days where I can't do anything because my neck is injured. And so I'm just gonna make a video explaining different types of dyes I do. I have a TikTok, and a few of those disc dyeing TikToks have gone viral. You may have seen them. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through a couple of them and tell you in more detail than what is in the TikTok about how I did it and how you can do it at home. So let's just freaking do it. Let's just do it, man. Of course there's a plane. Why is there so much noise right now? So the first TikTok I want to talk about is this DD3 that I dyed. It's kind of faded over time, but it looked really good starting out. So we can just hop into that and I can explain to you how I did this and how you can do it too. Okay, so first things first, wash the disc with soap and water. I don't use acetone because it scrubs the stamp off. I want to keep that stamp on there, so I wash it with dish soap to get any like hand grease or like stuff from storing it off the disc without removing the stamp. The next thing I do is measure and cut contact paper. You can get contact paper at any hobby store. You can get it at Walmart, office goods store. Pretty much any like crafty place is going to have contact paper. It's a little bit stickier and a little bit more airtight than vinyl, so I tend to use contact paper a little bit more. And then make sure you cover the edges. Here I am, what I was doing there, I was just freehanding the heart on top of the disc. What I did was cover the entire top with contact paper. I freehanded the heart with a permanent marker, and then what I did was I used an X-Acto knife to cut very carefully. You don't want to press too hard because you can press into the plastic, but just enough to get through the contact paper to be able to peel it off the disc. And then you want to take your fingernail and rub it along the edges just to make sure that there's no air bubbles that the dye can seep into. In the next part, here I am placing it on the cake pedestal. What you want to do is center it, and I bought this cake pedestal for like 10 bucks on Amazon. Really cheap. It's got lines on it, so I was able to center the disc pretty easily and making sure it's centered. And then I do a mixture of shaving cream, water, RIT, Dymore synthetic, and I mix that up. I usually wait till the shaving cream is down to like where it's really liquidy coming out. And it's just a couple squirts of water, a little bit of shaving cream, and then a little bit of just the straight dye, and mix it up real good. So it's gonna get a little foamy, but that's perfectly okay. So you wanted about that consistency, a nice foam consistency. And what I did there was when I peeled out the heart from the center of the stencil, I then spin dyed the whole disc. So now when we remove the contact paper, it should have the heart stained. Well, I'm gonna have to move on to the next TikTok, but it should have just the shape of the heart stained. So in case you didn't get that, cut the heart out of the contact paper while it's on the disc, peel out the heart, then spin dye the disc with the shaving cream on top. So next part, rinse it off with just warm water, make sure all the dye is gone, and then you can go ahead and peel the contact paper off. So what I'm doing here is placing more contact paper on because I want to do what I did with the heart again, but I want to make sure that no dye gets on the heart or on the Discmania stamp. So what I'm doing is taking the X-Acto knife and stenciling around the heart and the Discmania shield stamp to make sure that none of that gets dyed. And again, I went over the edges with my fingernail and really smoothed it out. Now I go on to the more traditional part, which is filling a plastic tub that I got at the Dollar Tree with some dollar store shaving cream as well. I take a flat edge and I kind of flatten out that shaving cream to where there's no bubbles. It's just almost like a smooth surface, and that's even. That's very important because if you don't flatten it out or you get bubbles, you're going to get a lot of empty space. So this is a very important step. And then what you do is I take RIT dye and I do about a 60 to 40% dye to water ratio, or you can do like half and half if you want the colors a little bit lighter, or you can do like a little bit more if you want the colors darker. It's really up to you how intense you want the colors. So that's what I did. That's what those little bottles are, just a mixture of RIT dye and water. And I dripped them onto the top of the shaving cream in lines that correspond with the colors of the rainbow. And then what I did there with the little knife is I'm sprinkling dye poly onto the blue and purple parts just to fill in the little gaps and give it a little more oomph so it doesn't look as open. Because when you're using darker colors, if you have empty spaces, they will pop a lot more, and we don't want that. So with the darker colors, I just use a little more pink and purple dye poly, sprinkle it in there, fill in those gaps. Then you have to spray it with water to activate that dye poly powder. Otherwise, it won't dye. I mean, some of it might dye, but if you want the stuff in the empty spaces to stain the disc, you are going to have to spritz it with a little bit of water. You don't need a whole lot, maybe like 3 or 4 sprays, and spray it from high up so you don't disturb all the shaving cream. But like 3 or 4 sprays is plenty. And then you let the disc sit. So I let it sit for 4 hours. This was in the summer, and it was about 85 to 90 degrees in the garage, so I only needed about 4 hours. When I did the spin dye, I let that sit for about 6 to 8 hours, I think. I can't remember what it said, but I let that sit for quite a while because when you mix the dye in with the shaving cream and the water, it's a little bit less potent. So I let that sit for a little bit longer. And then all you got to do here is rinse it off slow motion style, and enjoy. And that's how you make that heart disc that I have. Bam. Honestly, that was one of my favorite discs that I made. The TikTok didn't do too great, but it's fine. No one likes two-parters when it comes to TikTok, so I understand. Let's move on to, I actually have this disc with me today, as you guys probably just saw in the bag. Is it this one? Nope. Let's see, where's this one at? Here we go. So this one got quite a bit of views. Basically what you're doing, once again, washing and drying the disc. Wash with dish soap, not acetone. Dry the disc off and make sure it's clean. Try not to touch the top too much. You'll, again, fill the tray with shaving cream and you'll flatten it with a smooth edge. What I did different on this one versus the DD3 was I pre-stenciled the lines. So what I took was the tip of a paintbrush and I just kind of did curves through the shaving cream just to kind of give myself an outline, almost like a coloring book. I want to color inside the lines with these dyes. So what you can see there is I did a red and a purple dye following the lines that I had just drawn in the shaving cream. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I want to add a little bit of flavor to it, so I'm going perpendicular to my first wavy lines with more and smaller and closer together wavy lines all going in the same direction. And what that does is it kind of pulls dye from each section down and gives you like this wispy, it gives you like these wispy little lines through here. And then you place the disc in there. Again, this was shot during a pretty warm part of the year down here in Texas. It was probably 80 degrees in the garage. So I only needed to let it sit there for 5 hours. Usually with that Champion plastic, you need to let it sit for quite a while, but I guess this was a little bit of a softer run, so it took to the dye a little bit more. Then you just pop that out, slow-mo rinse it, and enjoy it. It's not one of my favorite dyes, but it looked really good on camera, especially with a polarized lens. So I really enjoyed it. So that's those TikToks. Let's see if there's anything else really in particular that we should talk about. Oh, so this one got a lot, and I'm not going to explain to you exactly what I did, but I just want to show you this. This pink Malta came out so good. I literally sold it before it was up for sale because my buddy just was like, I have to have this. This one came out, the colors came out a lot more creamier because the shaving cream was starting to run out, so it was a little bit more liquidy than it normally is. And I made sure to put a lot of dye on it, and I tried a different swirl pattern. Again, that ESP plastic, when it's hot outside, holds color a lot more than when it's cooler. It does tend to fade a little bit faster, but the vibrance right when it comes out is beautiful. Also, if you keep it in the bag, if you don't let it sit out in the sun too much, it's really not going to fade that much. Slow motion wash off, and look how beautiful that Malta came out. It came out so good. Let's watch that one more time. I just feel like it came out so freaking good. Little swirls, drip that powder. Boom, 5 hours, remove, rinse, and enjoy. I wish I could give you guys the music to it, but I can't do that. So anyway, guys, that was how to dye some discs from my TikTok. Enjoy it, go give it a try. If there's something else you're not quite clear on, drop a question in the comments below, because I know I didn't get to speak very specifically into each step. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a few other discs that I'm going to be dyeing soon, so maybe I will make a vlog about dyeing those specific discs. And as always, don't forget to throw up. I hate that. I hate that I say that.